Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'll be talking about jade plants and how to look after them and what kind of care that they require. So jade plants here, this is one of my biggest ones, and this is just an example of the kind of size you'll probably get in a garden centre when you buy a jade plant, or it could be a little bit bigger than this, but generally you'll buy them in the garden centre quite small. Jade plants are some of the easiest plants to actually look after. So they can put up with a lot more neglect than your average house plant, and they can really handle very little watering, which is a real bonus. So the main thing you want to worry about with your jade plant is watering and light. If you can get those two perfect, then the plant's going to do well almost in any situation. They're very tolerant of temperature, so you wouldn't have to worry too much about temperature. As long as they don't get frost, and as long as it's not above about 40 degrees, they'll be absolutely fine. They can handle really high temperatures. As I say, they can handle really quite cold temperatures as long as it's not below freezing. So when it comes to watering, you've really got to be quite careful with the jade plant because they don't like the roots to get too wet. Because they come from South Africa in the wild, they do like a very dry, hot environment. So if it gets too wet, the roots will actually rot off. So what you want to make sure is when you're watering your plant, you want to put your finger into the compost, feel if it's damp or not. If you feel any dampness, even if you dig down a couple of centimetres or an inch and you find it's damp, I wouldn't water it. Wait until the pot's completely dry. Then once it's completely dry, give it a good soak of water. Let it run out the bottom. Leave it sitting there for about half an hour. If you come back in half an hour and there's water in the tray, you need to throw out that water and then put it back in the tray. Check in another half an hour and make sure there's no water in the bottom. The main thing that kills a money plant is overwatering. So if you water it and you've got water sitting in the bottom of the pot or the bottom of the saucer, that's going to cause the roots to rot. So you want to make sure there's no standing water. You also want to make sure there's actually holes in the bottom of your pot, such as these here. If there's not holes in the bottom of the pot, you have to be really careful because you don't know how much water there is and there could be excess. So you definitely want to have a pot with holes in the bottom so the water can drain out so you can't overwater it too easily. As I said, once you water it, don't water it for a while, let it go completely dry so you can feel down it's quite dry, and only then water again. Because if it stays consistently wet, the roots will start to rot. So as long as you keep that method of watering, you shouldn't have any real problems with the roots of your money plant. So the main thing is give it a good water and let it completely dry out. If the roots don't dry out, they will start to rot. The other thing that you want to do to keep your money plant healthy is give it plenty of sunshine. They do come from a very hot sunny area of the world, so they do like a lot of light. That being said, they are quite tolerant of shade as well. If you grow them in a shady position though, you'll find that the leaves will be slightly larger and the plant will be very long and leggy. The space in between each leaf here will be very long and the plant will be very leggy, and it might even start meandering and even flop over. So if you see any like long shoots or anything like that, or you have a long shoot and there's no branching on it, that means that there's not enough light. If the plant's healthy, it will have short stocky stems like this with a small space between each leaf, and also it will be naturally branching like this one is here. You can see in this large plant here it's been naturally branching its whole life, so that means it's had plenty of sunlight and it's been quite happy. Now if you really want to turbocharge the growth and make it grow really fast, what you want to do is give it a lot of water and a lot of feed. So this one here has had that regime, and as you can see it's quite big. It looks like quite an old plant, but this is only about 4 or 5 years old, so it's actually quite young for a jade plant, especially as jade plants can live for many years. So the way to do that is during the summertime I would actually give it a high nitrogen feed. Most succulents I wouldn't recommend a high nitrogen feed, but I find the jade plant does particularly well with it. That will encourage these really large glossy green leaves. If you want big green glossy leaves, that's what you really want to do with a jade plant, give it a high nitrogen feed. I would give that all summer long. Over winter and spring and autumn I wouldn't really feed it at all. If you're trying to get yours to flower though, then I would give it a tomato feed in the autumn time, and that's high in phosphorus and potassium, and that really encourages good flower formation. So you can switch to that in the autumn if you're wanting it to flower. But most people won't be getting theirs to flower, and the reason for that, it is a little bit tricky. Unless you have a conservatory where it's quite cold in the autumn period, you're not likely to get flowers on your money plant. So when it comes to watering in summer, check it quite regularly. You'll find, especially if it's a large plant like this in a small pot like that, you'll find that even if you water it a good amount, it will dry out within a couple of days. So you can actually water as quickly as almost every 2 or 3 days if you have a mature plant in a small pot. If it's a plant like this, you're probably only watering about once a week, every 2 weeks, something like that during the summertime. But it's just basically whenever the pot dries out. There's not a set time to do the watering, so you wouldn't say every week or every few days, because The reason for that is the watering is completely dependent on the pot size, the amount of daylight it has, and also the temperature. So if it's in a very sunny position, for example, with a small pot, it will drink up the water from the pot really fast. It might need watering almost every other day. If it's in a large pot, in a shady position, it might only need watering once a month or something like that. So there isn't really a set schedule when you water it. It's just whenever the compost dries out, that's when you need to water. The only exception to that is winter. Over the winter period, I would completely stop watering for probably 2 or 3 months, just giving it a tiny bit of water every now and again. And the way to tell if it needs watering over winter is you can feel the leaves. If they feel a little bit soft, or if you see them starting to wrinkle up, then I would give them a small amount of water over winter. But otherwise, you want it to be completely dormant during the winter time. Otherwise, you'll start getting leggy growth, or you'll get pollen with the roots rotting off. Now, another method of turbocharging the growth on your jade plant is to use a rich compost mix. So what I personally use is actually a peat-based multi-purpose compost. You could also use a coir-based or any kind of peat substitute. So as you can see here, that's mixed in with a lot of perlite. And the reason for that is if you actually grow this in a peat compost on its own, it'll very quickly rot off. But if you add a lot of perlite like this here, which is the white material, this is basically, it's a bit like gravel. It lets a lot more air and water flow through the mix. That stops any kind of problems with rotting, keeps the plant roots really healthy. So I do about a 50-50 mix, so there's a really good drainage in my mixes. If you're more concerned about watering, that's 50-50 mix is really good. I tend to, if I want to really make the plant grow fast and it's in a small pot, use a mix of probably only 25% perlite, but then you can start getting problems with root rot if you're not careful with the watering, or if the pot is too large. As I say, if you want really fast growth, give it a really rich compost medium, water it every time it goes dry, and give it quite a lot of high nitrogen feed. Now, if you're a bit worried about watering, and you've overwatered plants in the past and you're not too sure about that, I would either have that mixed with a 50-50 perlite, or I would buy a succulent cacti mix. If you put a jade plant in a succulent cacti mix, it'll still grow quite well and healthily. It'll just grow a little bit slower, but at least you don't have to worry so much about the watering, because it's much more difficult for that compost to stay wet, as it naturally free drains very easily. So going back to light requirements, if you give this the sunniest position possible, as I say, they are from South Africa, so they really like very strong sunshine. Put it in a south-facing window. You want an absolute maximum sunlight you can get. If you do live in quite a hot country where you get very strong sunlight, I wouldn't give it the midday sun, because the midday sun could be a little bit too much for it. But certainly if you're in Northern Europe, or maybe Canada or Alaska, you can give it the midday sun all year round. It's not going to be a problem. If you live somewhere like Texas or maybe near the Mediterranean, you want to shelter it a bit from the midday sun. But otherwise, you want to give it as much light as possible. If it does have too much sunlight, you'll notice there'll be some red tinging on the edge of the leaves. That actually looks quite nice. Red tinging isn't a problem. A lot of people grow it in high light intensity just to get that red tinging. But if the red tinging is associated with also a yellowing of the leaf, then that's too much light. If you got a nice red tinge but deep green leaves, that's probably getting optimum light levels. But as I say, if you get a red tinge to the leaf right on the margin, but also the leaves are starting to go yellow, that's an indication of too much light. So you just want to take it away from the midday sun and give it a bit of protection. So I think that's all for my care video. I'll put in some links into the description for some propagation videos that I've done in the past, and I'll hopefully do some new propagation videos in the short future as well.